Welcome back to another episode of Sitting Pretty in Chaos with Kai. Okay, this episode we're going to be talking all about betrayals. Okay, because I just feel like I really had to, pray up on this because I'm like, Lord, what am I supposed to say for the next episode? The first was a little bit, it was giving a lot, okay? And I want y'all to know that I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Okay, for me, I'm real big on growth, relationships, healing. So I want to talk about it all. Okay, and nobody is going to box me in. Okay, and I want to make sure that everybody knows. Okay, before this podcast take off, let me tell y'all something. I'm not doing this to be liked. Okay, I don't need nobody to like me. God like me. God love me. Okay, and I know that God is involved up in this. Okay, so I'm not doing this to be liked. Okay, so yes, I'm probably gonna say some stuff that you don't want to hear. Maybe you're not gonna like what's gonna be being said sometimes, and that's okay. Just like you have an opinion, I have an opinion. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into this message, y'all. If you're here, you obviously have been betrayed one way or another. And you could be in a season where it's like maybe you was betrayed before, or maybe just in the past you've been betrayed and maybe you still healing from that. But everybody in this world have experienced being betrayed, right? But I think the real question that we need to start asking ourselves sometimes is, are we being betrayed? Like, is it a betrayal or is it really a preparation? Because sometimes we have to realize that God allows us to be betrayed for multiple reasons. Sometimes it could be the simple fact that maybe we didn't learn the lesson that God has already told us, that this is who the person is, and we just cannot believe who the person has already shown us who it was, one way or another. What I do know is every time I was betrayed, it was never by somebody that I never, ever, 100% never thought about it. If you get what I'm saying? It's like every time I was betrayed, it's like probably like I still wanted to see the good in the person. When God has shown me, or I picked up on something and I overlooked it based off, maybe they was a shapeshifter and it was like, I probably should have knew to keep my eye on a certain person. Every time somebody, or they can make a certain comments, sometimes people do, digs towards people, to try to hit below the belt. Sometimes, often of the time, when we're betrayed is because God shown us the signs and we intentionally ignored it. Okay, so let's first go into the meanings of like betrayals. Okay, I got my notebook today. Okay, y'all. So a betrayal, it says the action of betraying a group or person. Okay, disloyalty, bad faith, deception, a stab in the back, or a sellout. Okay, it can also be a violation of a person's trust or confidence. Okay, or of a moral standard. Okay, so some examples include lying, cheating, both physically and emotionally. Okay, disrespect. Okay, unfairness and selfishness. Okay, and when I think about like betrayals, often when people are betrayed, people have trust issues. Okay, and it can cause some type of PTSD, distress, emotional numbing. A lot of people become avoidance. Those are all responses of betrayals. Okay, which ultimately lead to some type of trauma. Okay, I think that sometimes we need to realize that when God is telling us to remove certain people, or when we're being betrayed, we have to realize that it's not a request to remove certain people. Like, it's necessary. It's a requirement to go to the next level. Even if it goes to improving another level of your personal growth overall. Okay? So that's why, like, you just got to stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. You never know where you'll be one way today, and then the next day your life can change in 24 hours. Your life can change in minutes, in seconds. And a lot of people like to betray people, and then they try to come back and they try to 7:17 up on the clock. That's my birthday, so I know I'm right on. I know I'm hitting what's supposed to be hitting. But I just feel like that we just gotta realize sometimes that when we're being betrayed, we have to take accountability for our own part that we played into it. Okay, I don't know nobody where they was betrayed and they just didn't have no idea, no inkling, no nudge from God or something from their intuition that's saying that, maybe I shouldn't trust this person. Every single time that or if anybody I know that has been betrayed, and even when you look out right now, when you go on social media, you see so many people are being betrayed, and that's because they're ignoring the signs. Okay, and you're being betrayed. You could be betrayed by friends, family. It could be people in your romantic relationship or situationships. And baby, when I tell y'all, we gonna break it down with each one, and I'm gonna give y'all a little story for each portion. Okay, for an example for friends, family, and relationships. To give you an example, and then this might end up, the episodes of betrayals may be like, maybe 2 or 3 episodes, because I really want to not only explain what it is, like what it is when you're going through betrayal, but not only that, also understanding what's the heart posture you're supposed to have when you're after you've been betrayed. Because after somebody is betrayed, that's a whole nother different episode. So we're just gonna have to wait patiently for that one. Okay, so I was led to share one of my experiences. So first we're going to start out with friends. Okay, so I'm going to tell y'all about a story where an old friend essentially, betrayed me, right? Okay, so what pretty much happened, we're going to call this person Sarah. Okay. So, I can't remember if I had reached out to Sarah or Sarah had reached out to me, but somehow the conversation came between me and Sarah living together. Okay, now at this place, I already had my own place. Okay, I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, just me and my dog. And so I already pretty much had my own stuff. However, I had recently graduated with my master's in entertainment business. And at that time, I felt like I wanted to kind of downgrade, and save some money, because I wanted to focus more as far as getting my foot into the entertainment industry, to focus more on my career. Sarah was also pretty much graduating soon or whatever. And, we had conversation on possibly, being roommates, right? So for those that don't know, I do read tarot. So anyways, I did need my own personal reading, the cards and God, okay, because in correlation that God said basically not to let the person move in with my house, right? But no, me, I'm like, okay, but Lord, I just want to try to help this person. Now, you know what I'm trying to say? The person was considering to relocate to the area that I was in. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, look, if I'm considering to downsize, my apartment, right now I had a 2-bedroom. I was thinking about downsizing to a 1-bedroom, and just save a little bit of money so I could focus on my career. But anyways, I had did a reading and myself, and God basically said not to let the person move in. But in my head, I'm like, okay, but God, this my friend, Lord, so I'm like, I'm just trying to help them out. That has helped them save money. That has helped me save money, X, Y, and Z. So around the same time frame that me and Sarah was, considering on if we was going to move in together, I also was considering to pretty much not renew my lease at my current apartment, okay? Because again, I wanted to, not spend as much money, and I wanted to downsize, right? So when you're on the lease, you got a certain amount of time frame where you got to give them typically it's 60 days so that you can let them know if you're going to renew your lease or not. Okay, now prior to me signing to renew my lease, I had a conversation with Sarah, and I was like, I think that I'm probably not going to go ahead. I think I'm not going to renew my lease. I think instead I'm just going to just go get me a 1 bedroom so that I can save more money. And, so maybe it's best for you to go ahead and find a better opportunity elsewhere, because I don't want to put you in no situation that's going to cause you to be, homeless or have any issues in the future, because in my head, I'm like, I don't have to renew my lease. You know what I'm trying to say? But at that time, I'm like, I don't know. After God had initially told me, like, no, don't allow the person to move into your home, I was like, well, I'm just going to do another reading and I'm just going to just see, if anything changes. You get what I'm trying to say? The third time, God said, okay, yeah, go ahead. Let them move in. So I said, okay, God, so now I feel like I'm doing my due diligence. Now I feel like I'm helping somebody, somebody else that's also that may be, in need. Because after I told Sarah, like, I think I'm not going to renew my lease or whatever, Sarah was like, look, I'm trying to move there basically. And that Sarah basically didn't have no other options essentially. So I'm like, dang, I'm like, okay, well, let me just try to go ahead. I'll renew my lease. So I can help out Sarah. Right? The deal was this. Now, at that time, my rent was probably like around $1,600. Okay. And then obviously you got like water, sewer, trash. In the city where I was at, you have to pay for a washer and dryer. It doesn't come with the unit. So, then of course you got Wi-Fi. Anyways, typically I was paying around, $1,800 to $2,000, of course, including, your light bill or water bill fluctuating here and there, right? So this is what the agreement was, okay? So both me and Sarah pretty much share. I explained how much was my rent prior to me renewing my lease and how much it would be if I did renew my lease. Okay. I split everything down 50%. Okay. The only thing where it would, vary every month would be based off of, the light bill. Okay. The bill might be $150. It might be $200 over the summer. So I said, hey, look, let both people, how about you put $100 in for the lights, I'll put $100 to the lights, and then whatever's that's left over, it'll just transition over to the next bill, and we'll just, do it going forward, right? So the deal was for Sarah to pay $1,000, okay? That's for the 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, because again, I already have my 1 bedroom. So for her to have the other bedroom, the other bathroom, all my place was pretty much already furnished. Okay. Obviously, Sarah just needed her own stuff for in her bedroom, whatever. And I don't live in no hood. Okay. The place I was at, I was not living in the hood. Okay. Very much so a safe, neighborhood. You got kids there. You ain't got to deal with no shootings. It was a safe neighborhood. Okay. So anyway, fast forward, I end up letting, Sarah move in. Sarah moved in maybe between May and June, let's say. So everything was fine. Sarah gave me it was like a $500 like little deposit, whatever. I think at that time, my deposit was like $1,000 or something. And so she paid half, and then I'm like, whenever we leave, then that's just how it'll be. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, keep in mind, at that time, I gave Sarah the opportunity to apply. So at the apartment complex, you're able to apply to the apartment. Okay. To have your name to be on the leash. Okay. So that's completely was the person had the option. Okay. So Sarah had the opportunity to, apply for the application, have her credit run, and pretty much get her name up on the leash at that time. That was not something that Sarah wanted to do. Okay. So for whatever reason, Sarah was not trying to sign and put her name on the lease or whatever. Okay. So anyways, fast forward, the first month, it was cool. Okay. We didn't have no issues. She sent the deposit, X, Y, and Z. We didn't have no problems, X, Y, and Z. So when she first moved in, I gave her a prorated rate. Why? Because she didn't move in like the beginning of like June or something. Okay. So I gave her a prorated amount, and I just, divided it into how many days throughout the month. Okay. So they pay, I think Sarah paid maybe $800, maybe $700, $800 that month. Cool. So when the first full month came, so keep in mind, my lease had to be renewed in July. Okay, the person moved in like June, like maybe the first or second week of June. I prorated it. July would have been the full month. So that means that she would have been paying a full $1,000, and that's what would have been the regular rate for every month. Okay, so the first comes for July, basically, right? And so I'm like, okay, don't forget, here's the amount for the rent, this. So now Sarah's like, what you mean? So how much was the rent? X, Y, and Z. Mind you, my birthday is also in July at that time. So basically, me and Sarah had a disagreement because I'm assuming that for whatever reason, Sarah says that she didn't know how much she was going to begin paying for rent. Okay, that's what Sarah said. Sarah said that she did not know how much she was going to be paying rent every month. So when I said so in my head, I'm like, we shared at that time, we shared in my notes, we shared notes on what was everything, on a complete breakdown from everything, from water, sewer, everything. You break it down, it was there. The only thing that varied was, I promise you, was water and lights. Everything else was already broken down. Okay. So anyways, Sarah had, she was upset with the fact that they didn't know, how much they were supposed to be paying for rent, right? Around this time, Sarah was out of town, and we had this conversation while we was at a distance from each other, right? So Sarah sends the money for the month of July for the rent or whatever. And so she's like, okay, we'll just talk about it, later, whatever. But she said whatever it is for the rent or whatever, X, Y, and Z. So while Sarah is gone, it's my birthday, right? So we've been cool for a little minute. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm saying like years, over 5 years at least, okay? So y'all know Sarah did not call me, text me, and tell me nothing for my birthday. So I said, oh, Sarah must be in her feelings. But in my head, when it comes to me, I don't like that fake shit. I'm sorry. I'm a lot of things, but when it comes to that fake shit, I just cannot. I can't. Okay? So, anyways, when Sarah come back, I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation. Okay? Because I just bend my back for you when I just renewed a lease for you. The reality is that I did not have to renew my lease at that location. I did not have to stay at that location. I purposely was considering not to renew my lease. I told you I was considering not renewing my lease. I only renewed my lease because you didn't have nowhere to lay your head. Let that sink in. So, me and Sarah have a conversation. And so I'm just like, so where's the disconnect essentially? And how much was it that you thought you were supposed to be paying for rent, X, Y, and Z? Sarah act like they didn't have no real answer, to be quite honest. Okay. So I told Sarah, I said, okay, look, I'm not letting so basically Sarah said that she don't want to sleep nowhere where she feel uncomfortable. Although I didn't do anything to make you or cause you to feel uncomfortable, and not only that, she made a comment that I guess that said like, oh, I thought that we were supposed to be roommates and this, and this, X, Y, and Z. Baby, regardless how you look at it, we're not roommates. Why? Because I gave you the opportunity to put your name on the lease so that you can see everything that I'm seeing. When you put your name on the lease, you got access to the portals and everything. So I gave you the opportunity to do that. You decided not to do that for whatever your reason may be, but you decided not to do that, right? So anyways, I told Sarah that basically I told her that was fake. And I said, if you was a real bitch, regardless of what we had was going on, if you was a real friend, what you would have at least said was, I know we're not on the best of terms, but I still want to wish you a happy birthday. But the fact that you ain't say nothing shows that who's really the fake bitch now? Respectfully. You know? So I said, okay, Sarah. I said, well, Sarah, if you decide that you don't want to stay here, by all means, that's fine. Let me know. Give me 60 days and let me know so I can, plan accordingly. Because, again, according to our lease, according to my lease, is that if you decide not to renew your lease well, at that time I had already renewed my lease. Literally, we had issues with this. I think I renewed my lease maybe like July 12th. My birthday is July 17th. I literally renewed my lease literally like 3 or 4 days before we had the conversation of the conflicts. Okay? So, again, I told Sarah, I said, well, Sarah, let me know. Give me 60 days so I can plan accordingly, X, Y, and Z. Cool. We in that. So Sarah texts me, maybe, I don't know if it was the next day, don't quote me on it, but a few days after, Sarah texts me and say, hey, I'm going to be out by the end of the month. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so you pretty much just slapped me in my face and disregard the fact of what I just said to at least give 60 days. After I done, bent over backwards for you, open my home to you because you and your feelings and you want to be immature and you thought it was a good idea to betray me. Okay. I ain't worried about it. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't even pray about it. I ain't pray about it. I ain't say nothing about it. I just let God handle it. I said, and all I could say, I laughed. I said, Lord, you said not to let nobody move in. I said, Lord, you told me not to let her ass move in. That's what my ass get. That's all I said. That's what your ass get. Okay? That mean at that time when she told me that, so that means that I had maybe a week and a half, and now it's almost August. You get what I'm trying to say? So now it's almost August, and then you just expect me to cover my rent and yours, basically. And so she said, okay, well, just use the deposit to go towards the rent, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. The deposit that she gave me was $500, okay? And if the part that she was supposed to be paying for rent was $1,000, okay, cool. That's $500, but that still mean I got to come up with the other $500. I still got to come up with your portion, no matter how you want to dice this stuff. Mind you, not only that, I just renewed my lease for you, which means that I'm now under a contract for the remainder 10 months that's on this leash that I just put my name on it to renew it for you, and then you just left. So when you break your lease, you got to pay what your current month is, plus you got to pay another month of rent because you got to give them a month for them to be able to find another tenant to fill your current, apartment, your current unit. So that means if my rent was $1,600 about that time, including utilities, that's like, $1,800. But let's just say $1,600, and then you do that times 2, that's $3,200. So that means that you expect me that if I decide to break my lease, first of all, I got to still pay rent and then pay the amount to break the lease. So let's just say at least $3,000. Let's just say that. So I'm like, you just gonna leave me on this lease by myself when I renewed it for you? Okay, cool. So when I tell you, that's why when people do stuff to me, when people betray me, I never seek revenge. When people do stuff to me, I never seek revenge. I always just say, I'm just going to let God handle it. Because every time God sees everything and God is going to handle them accordingly. Let's just say that. So after Sarah moved out, I was just like, okay, Lord, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna have to just break this lease or X, Y, and Z, but I'm not even gonna worry about it because, number one, that's what I get. Second of all, I should have just been obedient. Second of all, he obviously told me not to let them move into my home for a reason, but sometimes I just be wanting to see the good up in everybody. But listen, once I learn a lesson, that's all I be needing. I don't be liking to relearn 3-4 times. I'm not one of those. Okay? So anyways, when I tell y'all God is so good, after Sarah moved out, probably a couple weeks after, no longer than maybe a month, I got $14,000 to cover my rent for the next 8 to 9 months. Tell me that God ain't real, and tell me that God not good. See, sometimes we gotta realize that sometimes we be wanting to see the good in people. Sometimes we like to overlook things, okay, until somebody betray us. And it's like, why do we have to wait for somebody to betray us for us to realize? Why can't we just believe them the first time? Because Sarah showed me that this person was a shapeshifter. Sarah showed me that they didn't really have a real strong sense of self. Why? How do I know that? Because I've observed. I'm quiet, but I've observed. I observed Sarah easily being able to change her personality to move in and move just like the Joneses. Let's just call it what it is. Okay? So sometimes we also have to realize that when God tell us to not let somebody into move in our home, or to don't do something, don't do business with this person, or don't do that, sometimes it's because the person is just not attached. They are not supposed to be honored enough to be a part of what your own blessings is. And that's something that I had to learn. Because where did $14,000 come from? A program literally paid my rent for 9 months. And to be quite honest, that was the second time. This one was unexpected. This one was not expected. Because what did I tell y'all? And at that time, I was mostly only just doing internships. At that time, I was interning at a huge music studio at that time, and also working at a radio station at that time, interning at a radio station. So at that time, I was too focused on my career. It was more of my payment was my experience. It wasn't about me receiving the money at that time. You know, if you're getting what I'm getting, just hit like, okay? Just hit your notification bell, okay? But I think that's something that we as people need to talk about that more. And I'm just here to just give somebody else some type of testimony to understand that you need to realize that everybody around you is not supposed to be privy to your blessings. Everybody is not going to be being allowed to come with you to your next chapter. They're not. They're not. They're not allowed to come. They can't be trusted. Believe them who they are. Believe them. Don't put your life in jeopardy because you want to see the good for everybody else when somebody going to try to stab you in your back. And don't try to do so just because you just think that somebody is family. Because that don't mean shit either. That don't mean shit either. What matters is the posture of people's heart. Because sometimes you got to realize, you know what? Was it the devil? Or was it that God just needed to prepare me to realize, like, look, when somebody show you who they are, believe them. When I say that this person can't come with you, they can't come with you. Because people can have some sense of jealousy because of your blessings. Sometimes people see a certain calling on you and they know that it ain't for you. They know that they can't go to the next level, and or they know that they're not supposed to be a part of it. They don't have that same aura. Okay? I had to understand also that I need to still continue to be a good person. That does not mean to stop being a good person. That just means to increase your level of discernment and trust who God says to give to and who God says who not to give to. That's what the lesson was. That's what the lesson was. I had to look at myself in the mirror and realize that the reason I was betrayed was because I didn't have enough discernment at that time. I didn't trust what God had told me. I knew that God told me, don't let this person to move in, and I still did it. But this is a prime example of God still giving me grace. And I know it's things that you've done that God told you not to do. It's things that you've done that you may feel ashamed from. It's things that you may feel like, I don't know why I'm hearing this and I don't know who this is for, but sometimes okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting downloaded in the middle of recording this. Somebody was shot or shot at. And it took for you to realize that you couldn't trust certain people. Thank God that you learned the lesson. And thank God that you will learn the lesson. That little intuition, that little nudge, that I feel something, that I feel nauseous, something just don't feel right, that's God. That's God. On this podcast, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. And I'm not here to feel on nobody's ego. I'm not perfect. The truth is, people aren't entitled to your blessings. And I think as people, we like to bring people up and put them on the same level, the same pedestal where we're at. And the truth is, they don't belong to be there in the first place. They just don't belong to be there. But I hope that this have gave you guys some type of faith, hope, clarity on understanding what type of posture you're supposed to have when you are betrayed. Because I could have been a type of person where I run around running my mouth, but I didn't. And I have issues and I don't have a problem with, sharing, but I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm going to go gossip and I'm going to call this person and call that person and say, yeah, X, Y, and Z did. I'm not doing all of that. What do I need to do that for? I ain't worried about it because God going to handle you anyways. Wait till the next episode. In the next episode, we're going to talk about friends and family and the betrayals from friends and family, okay? I hope that you guys get something from this. I love y'all, and we will see you in the next episode of Sitting Pretty in Chaos.